now like to hand over to Jamie for your reading and philosophy, please.
Thank you very much. I nearly always choose a poem, and some of you may think, well, why would you choose a poem? But for me, poetry is an expression of the soul. It speaks the language of the soul rather than the language of the mind. It's an expression of what we feel and what we believe. The one I've chosen for today, which is the theme for my talk as well, is on being enough, and it's by what they call poetic solace, which is a source of poetry. And it expresses a lot about the human condition, I suppose, is really what it's talking about, and who we are and what we are, in a sense. And again, the theme really is about peace and being enough. You are not the noise of the world, but the quiet strength it cannot steal. Not the wounds you hide in the shadows, but the light that dares to heal. Every flaw you see in the mirror is a story of battles you've won. Like the cracks in a weathered stone, you are shaped by what you've overcome. You are not a fleeting moment, but the rhythm of an eternal song. Not a question waiting for answers, but the truth that's been there all along. So stand tall in the storm's embrace. Let the roots sink deep into the soil. You are enough. You are enough as you are. A masterpiece in your own turmoil. For me, that speaks of so many things. And so what I wanted to focus on is basically how we see ourselves, which is at the root of being enough. We so often tell ourselves we're not good enough, we're not intelligent enough, we're not the right person for this job. And of course the society that we live in encourages that. It's all about self-image, and of course it's based in the ego, the shadow self. These are the elements of our personality, if you like, that live in our deep subconscious, that influence our feelings, our thoughts, and ultimately the way we behave, and the things we choose to do, and the things we choose not to do. This is shaped. I'm reminded of the Jesuit saying, "Give me a child until they are 5, and I will give you the man." And of course what that really means is most of what we are is shaped in our early childhood, and certainly through our early years we are shaped by the world around us, and we have this strange compulsion to feel that everything has to be perfect, that we have to be perfect, and if we're not perfect we're falling short and we're not enough. So there's this constant striving for the unattainable. I was reading something only the other day by quite a famous medium who said, "It took me a long while to realise there's no such thing as a perfect message," which again echoes the same thoughts, that we so often strive to be good, to be perfect, and yet it's totally unrealistic. We're not. There's glory in our flaws. There's glory in accepting that we're not perfect, and there's strength in both. Until we can stand there and accept, we talk about shadow work, and you hear a lot of people talking about mindfulness and shadow work, which is an area that particularly interests me. And the key message from that is, once you learn to accept your flaws and not to criticize yourself for them, then you're in a much stronger position to move forward than if you try to hide them and suppress them and try for this perfection that we so often just cannot reach. It's unrealistic. There's inherent worth in being who we are. We are valuable. We are valuable to somebody. We are loved by someone. and we don't always realise who we're actually loved by until things change and suddenly you're aware of your true value. So it's understanding, and it's not about ego, it's not about inflated ego to understand what your true value is. Again, if you think you're not enough, then you won't value yourself either. And so you will always submit to someone else's wishes, to someone else's will, rather than asserting your own path and following your own path. So our value lies in our essence, not in our achievements, is very much where I come from with that. And of course we come to self-compassion. Once we accept that we are flawed, and we all are in some way, the next step is about self-acceptance and accepting ourselves as we are, and about compassion, should I say, and treating ourselves with kindness and understanding. Yes, we're not perfect, and it's about that. There's, again, when we come to mindfulness, and when we also come, it's the same when we learn to be mediums, there's an element of being detached. And if you can reach that stage where you can stand, as it were, and see the world go by and not be affected, and see your thoughts go through your mind. Again, when we talk about mindfulness, there's a lot talking about being able to just simply allow thoughts to come and go when we sit in the quiet, because they will, and most of them are the ego telling us that we're not good enough and that we should be doing this or we should be doing that. So the thoughts are important, and recognizing them, that our thoughts are often lying to us. These come from the shadow realms, as it were, for want of a better word, the shadow self, where we've learnt to not value ourselves, and so they say, yeah, you're not good enough. And of course the ego wants to protect us, but it does too much of a good job and gets in our way and stops us actually being able to realise our dreams in many respects. So coming back to self-compassion is about accepting who we are, faults and all, flaws and all, and saying, yes, but I am still a valuable person and I can still do what I need to do. So embracing imperfection is the key. Embracing who you are, not glorifying in being different or anything like that, but actually simply embracing what we are. And living authentically is the final point I want to make. We so often create a mask. We so often create a persona, and we're encouraged to do that. And behind the mask, we're a different person. And so living authentically, in a sense, is dropping the mask and saying, this is who I am, like it or not, basically. And I have a right to be who I am, the same as anyone else. And so rejecting that mask is sometimes the way forward in accepting ourselves. So living in accordance with our true selves is really what I'm saying. Not the mask, not the persona, not the one that we've learned to create in order to navigate the world, but to take the world on. So finally, I just want to read these few words to you. You are enough just as you are. So release the burden of perfection. Embrace the exquisite perfection of being imperfect. Cultivate self-compassion, celebrate your uniqueness, and live authentically from the depth of your being. For in acceptance we find true freedom, joy, and a profound sense of peace. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening.
We don't need any more. That's enough. That was wonderful. Thank you, Jamie.
Pleasure.
And please remember, if you've really enjoyed that philosophy and that reading, you can go back and watch it again on our church Facebook page, and just really, because there was so much in there to take.
unfortunately. Yeah, I could give a lecture on it.
Hands up. Well, okay, off you go. Hands up who felt that